Hi, I'm Catherine Llewellyn, the host of the podcast. You can find out all about Truth and Transcendence on truthandtranscendence.com. And you can find out all about me on beingspace.world, where you will find my online coaching offering as well as my UK-based workshops. The Freedom of Spirit workshop for liberation and empowerment, the Pellower Radical Shift in Consciousness workshop for spiritual expansion, and transformational coaching for exploring the mind-body-spirit connection on the expansive path. You can also support the podcast by actually making a donation. I hope you enjoy the show. Welcome to Truth and Transcendence. You can find all our episodes on truthandtranscendence.com. Today, I'm delighted to welcome special guest Andre Paradis, who's here today to talk about, among other things, being a disruptor. And we'll get on to what we mean by that. Andre puts in immense effort to change the world one person at a time, passing on his profound understanding of relationships and arming the people he works with tried and tested communication tools. And you can find out all about Andre on projectequinox.net. So, Andre, thank you so much for coming on the show.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Absolutely.
Fantastic. So, Andre, this being a disruptor came from something you revealed to me on the pre-call, which is that you are, in fact, a bit of a disruptor. So let me invite you to kick off by sharing with us, what's your earliest memory of actually being a bit of a disruptor? Can you remember that far back?
I want to say, well, at 5 years old, I woke up to the fact that I was, born in a family I didn't belong into. It was very strange, which made me kind of open up and watch the world. I was the kid who watched everything and everyone, just trying to understand how, 5 years old, how do you explain these are not my people? They don't like me. I don't belong here. Something's wrong. What? Do you know what I mean? So that was sort of me kind of waking up and realizing I was going to do life on my own. I was going to raise myself on some level. I was like that, but trying to understand. But I think at every little kid, you go to school, you want to fit in, you want to be accepted, you want to have friends. Well, I was the one in the corner watching. I always had one friend that wasn't completely disconnected and weird, but did not fit in anywhere. I was not one of the cool kids. None of that. So eventually, I was so unable to fit in that by the age of 15, that's when I went, forget all you guys, and I became me. Like, I started dressing differently, growing my hair, and it's just like, I can't fit in. So forget all this crap, and I want to be me. No one want to be me. I want to put me in your face, because I was also invisible all the way till then. Right, and my family was invisible. At school, I was invisible. So that became like this persona that it was actually me going, enough. So I'm going to be me, whatever that looks like. And so that's my first memory. And my mother going, what are you wearing? I'm like, what? She goes, that's kind of weird. I'm like, I like it. Not asking you. Like, let's start 15 years old. Forget.
What were you wearing when she said that to you?
So I went to one of my friends was a good dresser, and he had a way of putting things together at that age of school. Another one that I was watching, he knew how to dress. So he understood colors, like light pants with dark shirt look really well, and vice versa, right? But also, like, it's funny, I have this thing about like fancy material. Like, I like fancy material, like shiny shit, excuse my French. So I came home that day, I was wearing dress pants with a shirt. I forget the shirt underneath, but on top I actually got to in a what do you call it? Like an Indian from India kind of like store. And I was wearing that. It looks like I don't know what you call it. It's like, it's not a jacket. It's too thin to be a jacket, but it's got all the embroidery on it, right? It's cut on the side. It's long a little bit, right? It's foreign. It's foreign. And I threw that on top. Is black velvety, fake velvet, but a black one. And I'm like, boom, here I am. What? Right? And she's like, I really don't like this. I'm like, I'm not asking.
Fantastic.
I'm fair.
I'll bet you look great in that. And you were 15, right? So
I was 15. Yes.
fantastic. So that was your first sort of experimentation with being a bit of a disruptor
Pushback.
through clothes. And
Yes.
how did it progress from there?
Well, so this was me trying to be visible because it was invisible. And in that very like time slot, I went to a private high school, and in the a PE program, physical education program, we had like hundreds of options as opposed to just football, baseball, swimming. You know what I mean? And so, and it was the last year of high school into college in this school that was different, whatever. So just like college, in the last year of high school, you actually went to sign up for your own classes. Like you made your own schedule, right? Something you don't do till college typically. Anyway, so last year of high school, and go to the school, private school, to like pick my classes, and this young girl came up to me, cute little thing, this big. She's like, oh my God, I'm so glad to see you. I'd seen her before. I didn't think she knew I existed, but I'd seen her maybe from the other school. She goes, oh my God, I want to take ballroom for dancing, and we need to sign up as a partner. You want to ballroom with me? And I remember thinking, okay, wow, cutie, 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 cutie. I get to hold her in my arms. I was a swimmer. This was back in Canada, right? So I didn't swimming in Canada to get changed at the pool. So I don't have to change. I get to hold her. Yes, right. And this was interesting. So again, the guy was invisible, but anyway. So about a week later, I'll never forget this. This was a gift from God, by the way, and I still to this day can't explain it. My very first class, we're in the gym with the teacher who's a male. I hold the girl in my arms, the ballroom frame. Look at the teacher on my right, and everything he does, I just copy it. Just like right there. Like crazy stuff, like instantly he'd do it. I don't know how. I don't know where that came from. All I can tell you is within 4 months, I went from invisible geek to superstar in class, because I was the guy that all the girls wanted to dance with, because I could take him around, and the other guys didn't know how to lead. And so I became the teacher's assistant. We started doing performance at school. So that was a kind of poof, me being myself, discovering of his talent that I don't know where it came from. And to the dismay of my parents, because I didn't want to do anything else but dance at that time, because honestly, you'll get this. Wow, I feel this is now crazy. I'm going back. But because I was kind of miserable kid, I was rather sad and withdrawn. And when this happened, and you understand this, like the frequency when you move your body to music, right? There's two different sort of frequency coming together, and it moves your spirit, it lifts your soul. It just, right? It's like, whew, like there's a different, it it brings life into me. That's all I can explain. Like it just, like I felt alive. Maybe it's the first time in my life where I think I smiled the first time pretty much in that class. I was just like taking a deep breath for the first time at 15 years old. And that's all I wanted to do. So all I want to do is wait till the next class so I could, I would dance with the girls in the hallways. I would dance with the girls in like outside the cafeteria. I dance with the girls everywhere because they like all recognized me, and that's just lifted my spirit. And again, have a girl in my arms. Um, but my parents are like, my grace are going down the toilet. They're like, "You're not gonna make a living at dancing. What are you doing?" And I'm like, that's all I want to do. And it literally was a way for me to stay alive, because I didn't think I was going to be here long from the setup. And all of a sudden, like, it lifts my spirit. So I didn't at the time think I was necessarily going to make a living at this, but I'm not sure if you know this, but I made it from Canada all the way to Los Angeles. Ended up working with Prince, Michael Jackson, Paula Abdul, Julio Iglesias. I made it to the 1% who climbs on top in a field as a dancer. What?
I know. I was aware that you were a dancer because when you popped up as someone who might come on the show, I immediately knew who you were from your dancing, because back in the day, there was a large population of women in the UK drooling over you when you were dancing.
Oh my
I don't know
goodness.
if this was the Achy-Bull, the 90s or whenever it was, right? But,
Yes.
Andre Paradis totally knew who that was. right? So you had fans who you probably knew nothing
That
about.
makes me, I knew nothing about. It's interesting. Wow, what a trip.
I know, total trip. So some of my friends are going to be like, "You interviewed Andre Paradis?" So no, because you were and probably still are just a fabulous dancer. Hearing that backstory to it is incredibly beautiful to hear, because that also because the thing is, when you watch someone doing something very, very well, what you get is that they're very, very good at it. You don't necessarily understand what the heart inside that person is doing. So thank you for adding that piece for me, because it sounds like it opened the doors to a new
I
way.
came to life. I came to life in that way, and had a sense of something that it was a gift. Obviously, that's the first time I realized there was something special about me. Right, so that did open the door wide, and I was just want to explore it, and there's a whole journey, getting to the very top that was a chain of event, tick 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 tick, that looked like I was really lucky. But it was all part of getting there, getting here, because on the other side of that life, as I got help, it's crazy because dancing saved my life. Like I said, I didn't think I was going to be here long. That was a mistake. I didn't belong here. It was so, why am I doing it? Right. But when that kicked in, and when I started, like, remember going from depressed to, I just want to go to class. Right. So I feel better. And then the more I did, then and ended up getting a scholarship, which is insane because I wasn't even close to being any kind of able. That was 3 months of training. I got a scholarship. So now I'm not paying for my classes. I can take as many as I can. So I was working since construction, and after work, I was at the studio taking class in the evening and the weekends. So I got a lot of quick training. Again, it looked like I was lucky. I was just there at the right time, but that I never paid for my training ever. It just kept up and up and up and up. And at one point I thought, am I really doing this? Because I also raised my whole family, a bunch of professionals, CPAs and lawyers, all of them. My dad's an entrepreneur, businessman. So in my brain, the way I was raised, what I was shown was you have to go to school and then become something. Otherwise, how are you going to live? So making a living at dancing, is that really possible? And I thought there was such a, what's the word? It was so in me, that I thought, just to negotiate with my logical brain as opposed to my emotional brain, I thought, if I give it a couple of years, I'll give it a couple of years, see where it takes me. And if it goes flat, I can actually live with myself saying I tried, because it seems to be pulling me without me trying. You know what I mean? And sure enough, but I had to negotiate with myself for a while. Craziest thing, which is funny now to me, and my mother still says that, the moment I got on top, now it was like all the respect that I ever got throughout my entire training, all the, you're gonna make a living at dancing? What's wrong with you? Right? All of a sudden, and then my mother's taking credit, he got that from me. I'm like, okay, sure, yeah, I got that from you. It's my side of the family. I'm like, okay, all right. It's ridiculous, right? Ridiculous. And funny at the same time. Like, talking shit for 15 years almost. And when I get on top, because of, yeah, okay. But what I want to say is the chemistry of my body changing. So I went from being kind of low key depression to, okay, this is fun, to, wow, this is actually okay. To, like, it literally, it changed the chemistry and the composition, because we know, like, every time you have a feeling, right, you laugh, it creates chemistry in your body. You cried, so every emotion we have creates, a chemistry in our bodies. Mine was depressed, and every time I elevated with my body and dancing, I got better. I healed my brain from all this crap that was accumulating. So from, yeah, we'll see how long this lasts, to, well, this is okay, to, this is actually pretty good. What if I could be happy? So, and literally dancing saved my life that way, using my body to change my chemistry. I didn't know what I was doing, but looking back, that's exactly what happened. I
I,
wouldn't be here without dancing.
I get that 100%. Dance is, I love dance, and it's, my life would be not the same without it. I mean, I'm not a performer like you were, but you're absolutely right. Dance completely changes everything in the body and the emotions and mind and everything. So
Spirit, lift your spirit, lift your spirits. That's why people get addicted to dancing when they start dancing. They don't want to stop. They always identify themselves as dancers. When even when they stop, they're still dancers who we are, not what we do. And so,
yes,
yeah, it's pretty profound.
it is. And then there are people who say, I'm not a dancer. I can't dance. What would you say to those people?
I mean, it makes me laugh because my entire life, and I was teaching the whole time, by the way, right? Part of the business is you perform, you teach, you perform, you teach, you go away, you come back, you teach. So that's part of the business model. And every time I heard somebody say, and of all my teaching experience, I may have met 5 people, if that, in my entire life who actually did not hear music. So cannot keep beat and tempo. Everybody else has that naturally, the beat and the tempo is a heartbeat, right? It's very, very primitive and in all of us, like beating drums, stomping our feet, dancing around since the beginning of times, right? It's something that's been part of our lives. So when somebody says I don't have any rhythm, I'm like, okay, watch this. Right? But my favorite is I'll do events where I actually use dancing to get people in touch with their own selves and how they show up in relationships. But the moment somebody says to me, especially a woman, I can't dance, I go, that's interesting, right? I extend my hand and I start walking her around. And as walking her around, she's instantly, there's a natural tension when you, right? And I'll like spin her, walk her around, walk her around. I'm like, look, what's that? You're dancing, I'm leading, and you following me. What? Right? Like, yeah, that's what's happening. And then I'll stop him in front of me, and then I put him in the frame, and off we go. Like, what's happening here? Right? You're just responding to me. This is dancing. So yes, you can dance. Right? Like I said, most everybody has, unless you can't hear the music.
Yeah.
It's something, it's a skill to learn. That's all.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's about listening to something that's happening already. Ooh, it's
Absolutely.
beautiful. So how did you then progress? Because that must have really formed who you are as a man, because not only were you developing your dancing skills, you were going through puberty or the second half of puberty or whatever, whenever that kicked in for you. So that was all happening at the same time.
Mhm.
So you must have emerged into manhood in a very different place from someone who had not been involved with dance in that way.
Mhm. Mhm. I mean, like there's something to say about being typically one or two or three men in a space with 45 women. I mean, it it does something, right? Because you get like I said, I went from invisible to like the guy, right? Bit of a star, and looking up at me. They're looking up at me. To have women looking up to me, girls, right? Like that settles the manhood. That settles the I don't know what the word is here, right? There was a recognition of I am a man. I am, I have abilities that people respect and appreciate. Now, I never got that from my mother or any other woman before that, so that was kind of a huge way to fill up that space that was missing. Um, Really satisfying. But yeah, I like talk about like all I could do is be me. That's it. And as much as it was kind of like not needed prior for my experience, on the other side was like all I could do is be me. And I don't need to apologize for anything, and it doesn't have to necessarily make sense to anybody else, but this is what is pulling me forward every day. So
Amazing.
okay.
Well, I just want to say good for you actually following that calling, because
Yeah.
now you spoke about having the inner negotiation around that. You could have, the negotiation could have gone the other way
Absolutely.
and it didn't. And,
Absolutely.
good for you for doing that, because I think you doing it also is inspiring to the rest of us to actually follow the call. You know, I think whenever anyone does that, and I think you spoke as well in the pre-call about actually thinking for yourself, actually following your own
Yep.
thing, you know.
Yep.
And I think that's something a lot of people struggle with. You know, how do I follow my own thing? How do I hear what my own thing is? Is there anything you'd like to say about that?
Well,
You know,
what popped into my head as you were speaking is that, you know, I could have made the other decision. But part of my awareness, even as a teen, I would like, I knew nothing. Right? So I'd love to pick the brain of older people. My favorite to do is to saddle some old man in the park and just talk to them. Because they've done everything, right? Like older folks that are happy they went through everything that you can imagine in life, like lack of money and maybe divorce and kids and, you know, they've done everything. And when they get to like 75 or 80 and you can tell they're good, like life was good to them, they made some good choices, like they're full of wisdom, right? And that this is one thing, ooh, goosebumps. Ooh. This one man who said to me, he says, I'm going to tell you one thing. I've never regret anything that I've done in my life, but I've regretted the things that I wanted to do that I didn't. Boom. Like, to me, that was a bomb, right? So, like, am I going to dance? Am I going to go to school? Like, I have to give this a shot because otherwise, like he said, right? Like, it's the stuff that I didn't go for, that I should have done, that I should have tried, that are torturing me today, not the stuff that I did. So if I didn't try, I would beat myself up possibly the rest of my life. I didn't want to do this to myself. So I'm like, let's give it a couple of years, see what happens. And sure enough, but like that thinking for myself wasn't all mine. It was like it would sight settle older folks on purpose and pick their brains.
beautiful, fantastic. So how did this then kind of segue its way into what you're doing now? You're doing this very powerful work around relationships. You were sharing with me about how this is really a passion for you. This is not about a business for you. This is a passion. And you were also mentioning you've done a lot of study in a whole load of areas. You know, so you've really deep dived into a lot of things along the way. Oh, you know, would you like to give us a little flavor of how that kind of transition took place?
So, yeah. So again, from my beginnings and not knowing who I was until I started dancing, but still there was so many pieces missing to my life. Like, in the end, until I built myself all the way up, I was like, I don't know how to do this. Like, so I started at the age of 23 to tune myself in to help. I had no guidance. I had no mentorship besides the stuff that was happening to me. So at 23, I started doing personal development, transformational work. I was in a workshop since then. I became a workshop head to learn about me, to learn about how to build a business, make stuff, like all of it, right? Personal development, clear the trauma from the past and all that beautiful stuff. So I was a workshop brain since 23. And I mean, some of my friends would go, let's go to the beach this weekend. I'm like, oh, I'm in a workshop. And they're like, you're so weird. I'm like, no, you just go play in the sand and I'll be actually learning something, but go ahead, have fun, have another beer. Right? Like, because it was weird at the time. Like, seriously, back in the 90s, it was actually weird. It was not popular. So personal development. At one point, I started a family with my wife. So I decided to stop traveling at the dismay of my agent. What do you mean, traveling anymore? I'm like, I'm not traveling anymore. I'm not going to be in Europe when my kids are born. I'm not doing that. So I pivoted the whole thing, and in a way for me to be able to support my family, I opened a car business in Los Angeles. So as I'm opening this car business, a transition from being on the road to being grounded was fantastic after 15, 18 years. But constantly doing personal development. And so at one point, I'm at Northern California in a workshop because I'd taken the business up to what I could with this brain, this knowledge. So let's go learn some stuff. So I'm in a 3-day workshop about business expansion. Sounds like me, didn't it? Like, I gotta go learn because I don't know. What I don't know is what's in my way. Much more like it's just what we don't know that really gets in the way. And so you can never overlearn. Right? Anyway, So on the flight back to Los Angeles, I met 200 people on the plane. I'm sitting with a couple that I met during the workshop. We're sitting together, like 3-3 kind of thing, right? And I'm like, interestingly random that we're sitting together. Well, this was the last time that I realized that my life was not random. Like this was the last like lucky moment because I appeared to be very lucky all the way up, thinking it was random. So that was the last one, and then I realized that there's bigger than me. There's a destiny. You have free choice and free will to get there, but there's a pre-plan here somewhere. Ah, interesting. Anyway, so it goes like this. So we're on the plane, and it was a couple, and the lady says to me, "What are you doing? What are you doing next weekend?" I go, "Next weekend I'm free. Why? You want to come to a workshop? It's on me." Of course, because these could be expensive. I'm invited to learn something about. So I don't even know what, but I'm a natural, of course, because that's my brain. And then I go, "So what's the workshop?" Like after I said yes, she's like, "Oh, it's called Understanding Women." Well, that's funny, right? Now, for me, I have to tell, when I tell that story to my friends, that like, there's no such thing, dude. They don't even know themselves. They're completely confused with themselves. Like, who's going to explain that to you? And I'm like, that wasn't my reaction. My reaction was because, boy, my history with the ladies was easy. I always attracted sweet women. Oh, just always. Well, you mean my wife? You go, oh, like everybody. Oh my goodness, she's so lovely. Like that's always what I. So I didn't have the struggle that my friend did, the screaming, the fighting, like no, it was always kind of smooth. So I thought it was me, but I couldn't have explained it. Like just I thought it was my artistic ways or whatever, right? So my reaction was more like, oh yeah, I'm gonna spend a weekend about understanding women. I got this. Like I don't really need this, right? Not arrogant, just sort of history. Do you know what I mean? Like now I'm gonna spend a weekend to be on the beach. And I said I was gonna go, so I went. Anyway, so by then we're married about 8 years. I have a baby and a toddler, right? No, I have a toddler, a 4-year-old, and a 2-year-old. So at the time, I'm not looking for this stuff. We're doing fantastic. My wife's an angel. My family's working. Da 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 da. So I go in there backwards, thinking it's gonna be cute. And when I walked in the place, it was 400 people, 300 women, 100 men. I remember thinking, nope, okay, not cute. There's something going on here. So now you got my attention. I sat down, and all I can tell you is through the course of the workshop, I fell off my chair 7 times or so, like to slip off of my chair. The guy who thought he knew women realized he knows nothing. Like mind blowing, baffling. How's that possible? That this makes no right? And like completely like the wiring that you have, the way you operate and process things, the way we do, it's not even Mars and Venus, it's 2 freaking different galaxies. Right. And the workshop leader was amazing because every time we had the big bomb like this, she would say, let's take 5 minutes so you don't think it's me who's crazy. And gentlemen, check with the ladies next to you, left and right. And I remember there was a 19-year-old on my right. And I always start with her and I go, go. And she goes, yeah. I mean, but that's ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. That would make me crazy. Sometimes we think we're crazy, but we don't want to talk about it. Like confirm everything every time there was a bomb. So I leave the workshop, Mr. I know women, understanding I know nothing about women, like not even a little bit. Like Mars and Venus is not big enough. It's like we're completely in opposition in every single possible ways. But what worried me is that if I know nothing about women, that also means I know nothing about my wife, my lovely bride, and that freaked me out. Because everything is working, but it's what I don't know that's dangerous. When I realized that I could, in that workshop, that one of the things that made me fall off my chair is how we heard your feelings all the time. We don't mean to, but to you, he must know what he's doing. He would never say that. He would never do that otherwise. He must know what he's doing. So not only he knows what he's doing, that also means he's doing it on purpose. How long till a woman hates a man? If she thinks that, but that's so obvious to you. Like you don't say that to a woman. You don't do that. You don't. And then the next layer is I can hurt my wife's feelings not only by the things that I say. This is off my chair moment, but the things I don't say. What? I didn't do anything. I didn't say anything, but you should have, right? To her, there was a moment, something that I do or something I don't do. Like, right? This is where I understand where everybody derails. Like, we don't get it. Anyway, so again, to me, it was just, it was an alarm that went off. Like, what I don't know that is dangerous. And you understand, I have 4 siblings. They're all divorced, 2, 3, one's on 4 right now, right? Kids all over the place, mixed families, a big old mess. I'm not going to jeopardize our lives, my marriage, my family, because I didn't know, right? So that's how it started. I went completely nuts with inspiration and wanted to learn for us. I just was doing it for us, so we would be not a statistic, right? That was like, oh, like, I'm not gonna be statistic. If this doesn't work, it's not because we didn't try it. I didn't, whatever. But there was never a question that me and her was not gonna work. It was still 30 years later, you know,
Yeah, but
the same dynamic.
you became aware of a potential abyss that you could potentially fall into without even realizing it. How incredible. I mean, I just love the way you described that. Because I think a lot of us have had a moment where we suddenly realize how much we have no idea, whether it's about men or about women or about whatever it is, spirituality, personal growth, communication, whatever it might be. And I think those moments are just so powerful if we can receive them. I mean, you obviously were ready to receive that. You know, a lot of men might have just been, okay, at the next break, I'm gone. You know, you
But
with it.
she was filling in the blanks on things I never considered from the other side. You know, I came home. My wife said I was pale. I was so upset. I was like, you really like, what am I doing to her that I have no idea I'm doing to her? And how long till she hates me? 15 years? You know what I mean? That was like that. I saw it. So for us, for me, for a relationship, our marriage and our family, I went at 100 miles an hour. So that company I took, they had like, I think 11 workshops at different angles in the realm of men and women relationships, communications, sexuality, all that stuff. I took all their workshops, right? Pay out the nose. And the system was, if you'd paid for a workshop and had gone through it, obviously, you could always come back and assist for free to be in the space, in the room, right? They needed a lot of people to run a workshop. I was in a damn workshop every weekend because even with the same workshops, you know, the material is taught by different teachers. There's different examples. There's different questions. Like, the more I was in it, the more I realized there was more. There was more, so I couldn't stop. So much so that I got a little crazy. I was in a workshop. I travel an hour and a half. Sometimes I travel 4 hours to be assisting for free just because I wanted to be in the space. And my wife understood, you know, the magic of that, but I was doing it for us, not for anybody else, until my dad died, God, years and years ago, in the middle of this. Because I remember thinking, like, I'm not sure why I'm doing all this. I knew it was for us, but there was another, like, there's a momentum that pushed me through doing NLP and trauma released, and like things would come at me that I wasn't sure why. And I remember taking a whole set of workshops about, you know, the human mind and the psyche. And I'm like, I'm not sure why I'm doing this. 7-day workshops, you know, like a group of like 9 over the course of next year, plus me going to free assist workshops. Anyway, so all of this I was grabbing onto was coming at me, but I wasn't completely. I had figured out what to do with all this. It was, again, it's just for my wife and our lives. So my dad dies. I fly to Montreal. The funeral's in Quebec City, so it's 2.5-hour drive from Montreal. So I'm in the car with my sister, who's difficult. Period. Like, there's women that are easy, like my wife, and then women who are just freaking difficult in every way. Challenge everything, push everything, fight everything, combative, disagreeable. Like, you know, that's my sister. Like, she's a boss. She thinks she's cool, and she's not. She's just a real giant pain in the ass, has always been. So in the car, she's complaining about her husband, of course, right? And I'm like, well, you know, this is where, and I threw something at her, and she's like, huh, right? And I kept throwing things at her. and we would shut her up. And again, because I teach nature science, anthropology, psychology, right, and nature, right, and the chemistry of our bodies and how we function so differently, it resonates for most everyone. People are like, wow, okay, never thought of it that way, right? So anyway, so in the car driving to my dad's funeral, halfway through, as I'm teaching her stuff, she's like, "My God, you're really good at this. You should probably teach this." So there it was, and that's how this whole thing started.
Especially coming from her. I mean, you know, especially what you said about her, the fact that she's the one who said that to you, it must have really landed.
It was like a hammer to the head. It was like literally like, why am I doing all this? Because I've been doing at that point like 6 or 7 years of like intense training in things that didn't seem to relate. Looking back, they're all connected. But how come I signed up for this stuff? Like, what is that certification for? Anyway, what you should teach is, it was literally like a hammer to the head in the car. I'm like, boring. And it's like the clouds parted up and God's like, finally, let's go. And she's still bitching in the car. She has no idea what she just said that changed the course of my life in that way. It's wild. The day and these moments, pivoting moment, like moments, minute little moments on the plane. Do you want to come to worship? So me, sure. Like if I hadn't gone, my life would be different, right? The girl asking me to dance at 15, if I hadn't gone, it would have been a different life. Like at these minute moments, and this is another one. Like, this is a new direction. And off I went.
Well, you know what? Remembering our theme of being a disruptor, it sounds like you're somebody who has repeatedly disrupted your own life. You know, you've been disrupted by things, and you've gone with it, and you don't seem to have been afraid of doing it. Is that right? Or
Yeah, well, one thing is a good question. So I was never afraid of anything, because nothing could be more terrifying than realizing at 5 years old that you don't belong in a family. The terror that see, I'm like the terror of a 5-year-old realizing that you're on your own. There's nothing worse. So everything that I would lean against, everything that would be considered kind of scary to me was like, whatever. Like, so nothing's really scared me. And that was part of me leaning in all the time. And I remember one of my friends, this is mid-training, he goes, "You're such a beast. Like, nothing can derail you. You're so strong." And I never thought of myself really that way. I was just pushing. He goes, "You're so strong. Like, nobody could derail you. Like, you have a sense of self that, and where you're going." I'm like, "Really?" He goes, "Dude, you don't see it? Like, it's so obvious. Like, we all respect you for this. You don't have to say that we see it." So there was like these confirming moments, right? That confirm what I was on the right track, so there was no fear. There was no fear. And that's kind of crazy to think about. But like I said, you couldn't scare me more than I'd been.
yeah,
Just couldn't. So everything was a challenge, something to tackle, something to lean into. And every time I did, of course, and this is the same for all of us, when you tackle something that scares you, that you're afraid of, that you're uncomfortable with, it's never as hard as you think it is. And on the other side, like, look what I just did. Huh. I can't, right? So like the knowledge, the confidence, the character building, like all of it. So at one point in that whole phase in my 20s, personal development, my go-to was, if I don't want to do it, I go ahead and do it. The more something came at me that I was afraid of, I hated, I didn't want, the more something created resistance in me, the more that I literally turn around the next second and would go for it. So to constantly conquer my fears, my questioning, my lack of whatever, I would just lean into it, because on the other side, I always won. I always came out on top. So most of the time better than I could even imagine, but I wouldn't have known that I'm this capable unless I did it. So it became like a hook, like just bring it, like just anything coming at me, I would lean into. And this is how I think but this is how I build my character, good character, my confidence. I gain self-respect, respected from men and women out there in the world, and unapologetically me. But it was this constant lean for discomfort. Because the only thing you only learn when you're uncomfortable, right? It's when you step outside the box that's scary that you learn something. If you stay in the box, what are you learning, right? I know I learn nothing when I'm comfortable. So don't want to do this. Anyway, so it was a mantra. Like I would just constantly lean into stuff I didn't want to do.
Yeah.
The scarier, the better, just like it would put more urgency to it.
Okay, and the people who say, okay, that's great, Andre, but you had your defining existential horror experience at the age of 5, so you got that out of the way early, and then you had someone turn up and offer you an opportunity at the age of 15, and you responded. So, but I'm in my mid-50s now, or mid-60s now. It's too late for me now to open up to that approach to life. What would you say to them?
Oh, crap, it's bull. It's complete bull. Again, the limitation we put on ourselves. Oh, I can't do this. I'm too old for this. Or like what happened, what I see a lot in my clients is as they get midlife and forward, more so, is that, we know when we're young that we know nothing. So we know we know nothing. And so we learn stuff and we struggle and push and whatever, right? So, but the moment you get good at something, whether it's like some physical activity or your job or making money or your career, right? The moment we get good at something that brings us confidence, we become less and less willing to show weaknesses by doing something that we're not good at. So we stop pushing because, I'm a cool guy or I'm a cool chick or I'm a boss, and you know what I mean? So we resist as we get older, looking stupid by doing things we're not good at because I'm all that over here, and the world sees me this way. And that's a trap, right? Because expansion comes from experience and leaning in and trying. So I'm a very confident guy, but if you put me on skis, that all goes out the window. I hate skiing. I'm a terrible skier. I could learn if I wanted to, but I hate the snow, so that's not going to happen. But I've been skiing in California. It's like a friend of mine is an avid skier, and we dragged me up the mountain like 3 or 4 times. You know what I mean? And I could tell you, I absolutely hated it. I felt like a moron. And the bunny slope with the little kids and sliding on my butt all the way down. And I tried, and I'm like, no. So everything confident about me was this bumbling idiot rolling down the freaking mountain. Do you know what I mean? But I'm saying is like I had to try it. I had to do it to realize I'm really not interested in that in any way. But if I decided to become a skier because it was good for my whatever, but my point is we don't step into stuff that we're uncomfortable with and we don't know about because we have to prevent, keep that image, especially when we get older. You don't want to feel stupid. You don't want to feel like everybody's watching. You don't want to feel like you're not good at because you're all this over here. But that's actually a terrible trap, right? Like, no, like I could have learned to ski. I didn't want to, but if the challenge was big enough for me to challenge that for myself, I would have. But that was like nothing on the scale of the rest of my life. That was no need to do this.
Yeah. I mean, that image of you sliding down the mountain is just such a brilliant way of putting it, because I think, as you say, as we get older, get more, together, we've got it handled, then we will avoid those moments, perish the possibility I could be slipping down the mountain on my ass, that couldn't possibly happen. But in you reminding me of that, and with some humor, obviously, that just reminds me that those moments are the moments of growth and expansion. And so thank you for that. I think that's just I just think that's particularly with our aging population, we're all living longer and longer and longer and longer and longer. And if we decide to stop growing at a certain point, what are the following, God knows how many decades going to be like?
Seriously. Seriously. Do you know what I mean? And again, it just takes a little courage and a little like understanding the magic of that, right? It's in discomfort that we expand and grow, and you might discover something that you didn't know you had a talent for, like me at 15. You know what I mean? I had no idea, but I stepped into it.
Well, obviously your mother obviously was a fabulous dancer because you got it from her.
Yeah. So, not that she can't. Yeah, no comments.
Really teasing. So,
I know, of course.
Okay, so let's just segue into, in this work you're doing now with people, with relationships.
Yep.
You've got a very strong passion for this, and this is I kind of got the impression talking to you before that this is almost like a spiritual calling for you.
Absolutely.
So would you like
Yes, it
to
does.
talk a bit more about that? Why it's so important to you and why you feel important in the world at the moment?
God, goosebumps again. Because when I started doing this work, like I said, I've been at it since 2006, for God's sake, right? And from this workshop to these workshops to this mentor, this other mentor, and kind of peeling the onion, um, I realized the struggle between men and women, which is what I was trying to learn to decode and help alleviate the confusion and the pain of the stuff that happens to all of us in between, not understanding each other, right? Um, And what happened is I saw the culture lead in harder and harder about 10 years ago into equality, 50-50. Women are boss now and, they don't know man. And like, what the hell is that all about? Right. And it came in like an avalanche, like this in a tidal wave. I call it the cultural tidal wave. That we flipped the script on men and women. We empower women and we soften the man, trying to make it a more even playing field. I get it. On paper, it looks beautiful. Make sense? Right? Open the channels for women to do business. Great. Now, so it's good for money and business, but in the realm of relationship is the kiss of death. This is exact opposite of what works. Men and women are not the same. And for women to want men to act like women is ridiculous and completely unrealistic. It's straight up stupid, right? Like, it's like you want a guy to talk to you, like your girlfriend, to share his feelings and well, no, it's never going to happen. If it's any kind of man, if you're softy and more feminine, you'll get some of that, but you won't respect him in the end because he doesn't make you feel safe. He's too soft. So women, I want a nice guy. No, you don't. I'm not saying you should go for a jerk, but that you want to go for a man who protects naturally and knows his place and wants to take care of a woman. That's what makes you feel safe. It's not the nice guy who's asking you, so you want to go out next weekend? So what restaurant do you want to go to? Do you want to go see a movie? Do I see you Thursday? Like, women are like, oh God, get the hell out of here. Right. So these guys that are soft, you don't respect, you can't, and they don't make you feel safe, right? You look down at them instead of up at them. So that's what's happening. Like we've even out the playing field for business, but it became now men and women are the same. No. And again, the more you think we're the same, the more is the problem because we're not. We're wired completely backwards, completely opposite in every possible way. And we even forget that. But if you look at nature, everything I'm talking about is nature and science and psychology. Everything in nature is polarized. Everything that multiplies, that grows, that continues to live is polarized. There's a masculine and a feminine. There's a yin and a yang. There's a positive magnet, negative magnet. There's light and it's dark. One cannot exist without the other, right? So men and women's polarity is in the masculine and feminine dance. We're going to neutralize this and watch the whole thing flop, right? This does not work in a relationship. You have to keep the polarity. And now what's happened that I see this is what I help most of my clients with, my ladies, is they've been overly masculinized. And what happened is nature has it, they only attract the soft feminine men who don't want to provide and protect, cherish, give, support, lead. These guys want to be comfortable. They want you to pay. They're really proud of you, getting a promotion. Go girl, right? When he's spooning your dog on the couch, smoking a joint and driving your car because he can't afford to fix this piece of crap. I mean, that's the standard, right? And what happened is when we raise all women to be masculine and soften the guys, you end up with this new inverted polarity that doesn't work. Women hate it, right? Eventually, they don't respect these guys. You know what I mean? And she becomes his mother. And eventually, these things, even polarized, but polarized backwards, they don't last. They don't last. Eventually, she can't stand him anymore. She can't respect him anymore. He's a weenie. But he's like, go girl, right? Go girl. You get the promotion because that makes him, he gets to chill, right? Write his music. Dude. So we know that doesn't work backwards. But women experience that a lot. Where the man, how come they don't step up? And we talk about energy and frequency, right? When you energize, when your frequency is masculine as a woman, you only will pull, this is nature, feminine men, and you'll think that's men. And this is when, men aren't shit and you can't trust them and they're cheaters and liars and they're toxic. Yeah, the soft ones are, right? So it's not masculinity that's toxic. It's the lack of masculinity in men. It makes them soft and erratic and unstable emotionally, financially. They act more like a woman, right? Living through feeling to a woman is perfectly normal. We understand that. But for a man to live through his feelings, and I do a lot of mentoring and men's work, and like those soft little girly, no daddy guys who like relate to their mothers and women in a feminine way, right? That's, how come you got fired? Or why don't you get another job? Oh, I don't feel like it. What? I don't feel like it. What kind of a girl are you, dude? Because masculinity is, I don't care. It doesn't matter what I feel like. Doesn't matter what it feels like. It needs to get done. What I feel is if we lever it, this has to get done. We have to pay the rent. We have to conquer, right? So don't feel like it is irrelevant for masculinity. It's like, doesn't matter how you feel. You got to go logically get it done. And because the world will keep you accountable and knock you to your knees if you're not accountable as a male. The feminine can go and get away with it a lot much more. Just saying. So this is what I saw. I saw the inversion and the trouble that it caused, and it's everywhere. So the God calling came at one point, literally like in my sleep, like you're going to be one of the ones who's going to go with the rest of the disruptors because you're not going to do this alone, right? And you're going to go teach this to the masses because what's happening right now is inverted. It's against nature, right? And what happens is when family systems fall apart, no daddy, right? Divorce, it destroys the kids, right? And they can't grow into be healthy young adults who could families and children, right? So when the family system falls apart, the culture and society fall apart. So God is like, it's time to reverse this crap. And, you guys are coming down here to fix this and teach this. So that's the mission. That's the God mission, the calling. And it's not about me, but it's about us, bringing it forward in the world to wake people up to what's not working. It's unnatural. It's away from God. It's away from nature. It doesn't work. So everything that's stupid is the new normal. Everything that's normal that's now stupid. Well, we have to flip it back. That's the mission. That's the calling. It has to. So I can't stop. I can't. It's not even about me anymore. It's about that, and it keeps me up at night because I'm not there yet. But God, if I'm not pushing every day for it, thank you for being a disruptor with me.
Beautiful. Very well. Thank you for doing that. I mean, it's just, I think you're right. There's a lot of difficulty at the moment that people have with
It's terrible.
the masculinity, femininity aspects and the balance and the polarity and all of that, and having these vibrant relationships that we all want. Because I think another thing that goes with that is that when I was a child, people had to be in relationships. Adults almost had to be in relationships because you couldn't not have children because there wasn't really any contraception then,
Right.
or barely any back then.
Yep.
And so you had to either never have sex, or in which case you were an outcast. You were just considered
Right.
spinster or weird or something. Or you had to be married, and none of the women could afford to not be married. And often people were in relationships for economic reasons and
Yep.
to bring up the children, and that was it. And I think I noticed a time came where for a lot of people that was no longer inevitable, no longer something they had to do. And then it was a whole different world.
Yep.
And now you've got this dynamic that you're talking about,
Yep.
which is very problematic. So what is the solution to that then? You're working with people. What's your secret sauce? How do you help women to get out of this over masculinized, or whatever the word is, trap?
Well, first I have to be ready for it. Because all of my ladies, 80% of my ladies, 80% of my clients are ladies in their 30s plus, right? Who were raised to be masculine, girl, boss babe, build a career, build a life, don't need no man, they just have fun with men on the side because there's too much, and they can't spend too much energy doing that because they're building their career and their, right, degrees and masters and they push like men. They realize 30 plus that they're exhausted, they're tired, they're overwhelmed. Money doesn't make him happy. This career stuff is ridiculous, too much work. They want to lean back. They want to relax. They want companionship. They want somebody to support and help them in the way that men do, but they've been completely not thinking any of that until they get to 30 something. And some of them cracks me up. They realize, I want kids. I never wanted kids before, but I realize I want kids. I'm like, well, yeah, what's your body like? What is the other purpose of your body? Every month your body says, hello, this is why you're here, right? I mean, not everybody should have kids, but my point is, for most, this is the nature of your bodies. You're going to ignore that. So women are trying to ignore that, and their periods are pain in the butt, and it's uncomfortable, and trying to shut it down, try not to deal with it, whereas nature, right? So, okay, so my clients come to me with, I've listened to my mother who made a terrible choice with my dad and said, man, you can't trust men, they're dangerous, you're better off, don't do what I do. And then the college university teachers who derailed everything that's normal into relationships and men and women, culture, whatever. So these women are sort of what I see is they've been scared out of going the traditional way, not understanding how to do it. So they lead into business because see it and build a business. Except, like I said, 30 plus, I'm sick of this. I've done everything I'm supposed to do. I'm not happy. I'm overwhelmed. I'm tired. I want a relationship. Men don't see me, my favorite. I'm invisible to men. I can't get a date. I'm 32. I'm still young and pretty, and I have my stuff together. I have a car. I have a house. I have a business. I make this much money. I'm like, so what? Men don't care about that. How come nobody wants to date me? Right? I go, because you're too masculine. Masculine men are not interested in masculine energy women. What? They never heard that in their lives. Right? Because the boss babe and go girl, then don't do like I do, mom says, right? Like it's what how they've been raised. So can't get a date. If I get a date, I can get a second date, I get ghosted. I'm like, yeah, men aren't interested in masculine energy women. You're gonna have to reframe yourself into an essence of your body, which is to be feminine. And most of my ladies are like, no idea what that means. They've so completely lost touch with being feminine because in the culture, it's weak, it's pointless, it gets you nowhere. You need to lean in, lean in, lean in. I say lean back, lean back, lean back, because that's what men will lean in for. Because men are attracted to that feminine softness, that warmth, that radiance. So, and again, and it's not about kind of eliminate everything you build and what you've learned work for, right? It's not about like just because I get that from feminists sometimes. Oh, should we just dumb it down for you boys, for your little egos? I'm like, that's rude. That's very rude. That's not at all what I'm saying. That's not what anybody wants, right? It's that you have to know which energy attracts the man that you want, right? So you could be a boss at work all day. Go girl, that's fine, right? Because you have to make money and pay your bills, and I get it because you're all raised to be masculine and live like men, right? Carry everything on your own, be independent. Strong, independent, and powerful is masculine. Does not make women happy in the long run. So it's not about undoing this. I say you could be a boss babe all day long, except, are you ready? I'm going to be crass a little bit here. And that's how I say to them. I'm like, that's all fine, except at the end of the day, you have to relieve your balls at work and show up in the world outside of work like a lady, like a woman, like a feminine, radiant, open, right? A magnetic woman, because that's what femininity does. It magnetizes everybody your way. Man, women, children, dogs, like it's right. There's a magic of this vibration, the frequency that is feminine is pulling the whole world towards you to provide, to protect. All men, right? We instinctively protect the feminine, even if it's not my woman. Like we're the guys that pull over on the side of the road if you get stopped, right? Like we're gonna pull over, not a woman. That could be a trap for her. It could be dangerous. The guy will pull over. And right behind that guy, another guy, in case that guy is no good, right? Because they exist. We know. We're the ones protecting you from these bastards. So masculinity in itself, like you don't need to manipulate man to provide and protect women. It's innate. If he's a normal male, right? Not a boy. So nature, it's just there. So if you recalibrate and getting your feminine more and actually learn to be in your body and supposed to be in your head, all of a sudden you're visible to man. Because as long as you stay in your masculine, you're literally invisible to man. And my clients are, again, young, beautiful ladies who are invisible to man. I'm like, I know your energy is dudely. You're a dude in a skirt, and men go, because men recognize that instantly, by the way, right? Masculine men, they see masculine women, and they literally go, eh. Like they won't acknowledge you. They'll walk by you. They don't even say hi. It's so irritating. It's so counter natural, right? The masculine men avoid these women like the plague, and they're looking for the sweet, soft, gentle, feminine. They still exist, but they're rare.
So you're
Anyway,
so you're on this incredible mission, which I think sounds fantastic. And you were saying to me before that you feel like this is a big mission for you. You can see it spreading and spreading. So how can we help you to do this? Plus, you've got a big presence on YouTube, haven't you? Do you want us to all come and subscribe on YouTube?
Yeah, please. You know, yeah, it's been an adventure getting here. I'm on all the social platform, and this year for the first time ever, because we were feeding everything else. Like Facebook was bigger then, and then it was Instagram and chat. So, and now we actually lean into YouTube because it's actually becoming a better social media platform to have more influence on the world. So, but I'm all over the platform. I'm on TikTok, Instagram, I'm everywhere. So if you actually Google my name, you'll find me everywhere.
And I'm going to put your links for all of those in the show notes as well. So people find you.
Yeah. Like I said, the idea is and I also have two gifts for you listeners, because that's part of spreading. So like I said, I'm trying to spread hope, ladies, that is possible to build a healthy relationship with men. That is, in those days, men, yes, women are still out there, willing to be more traditional and line up, because traditional men want traditional women, and women in our culture to this day want traditional men. But the culture taught them not to be traditional, or to refuse to be traditional, or to resist being traditional. This is why it's not working. So men are like, okay, you don't want to be a mom? Okay. You don't want to be a wife? Sure. I'm going to find somebody who wants to, because actually men never change. Like men have not changed through feminism. Women have. And men still want mothers and children, and to build legacy and a kingdom, put their arms around and go, look what I did. That's what masculine wants. So men want to be married, when babies and wives, but the women aren't willing, right? You're better than that. Okay, well, we'll talk later. We'll talk later. So,
but I just want to come in and just say one thing, because obviously,
yes,
in amongst all of the changes in the last decades for women in particular, a lot of it's been good in the sense of women discovering sovereignty, discovering, a bit of sort of creative and so forth. So just confirm for me, you're not saying to throw all that out.
I said that earlier.
Yeah.
Not at all. Not at all. Because actually, women's intuition, women's ideas, women's brains. Well, I go to my wife when I'm stuck, and I go, babe, what do you think about this? Or, what do you? Oh, a whole bunch of things I would never have thought of. I'm like, that's brilliant. Thank you. Right. So, it's coming together that actually is a mojo, but she's also feminine enough not to tell me what to do unless I'm asking. There's a very big difference, right? There's a respect language here with men and women that modern women have not learned. So you challenge men, you push men, you tell them what to do, right? You try to drive them and control them. That's all masculine. They go, right? So, but the feminine has a huge amount of support, like a huge amount to bring to the world in every way, like this. So you can be entrepreneurial and create some beautiful stuff that a man will not think about. Do you know what I mean? But in the end, you want to do that with a man as well. Do you know what I mean? If you want a full life, you build some stuff that's satisfying as a woman. You bring your gifts to the world. But if you do it without a relationship, you're going to suffer again, because nature wants us to be pair bonded, men and women, right? There's a lot of data on this. I'm in Los Angeles, right? A lot of people with a lot of money here. And if they can't get the love dynamic relationship right, they all feel like failures, right? Because it's still the paramount, the quality of our life, but for both men and women, is directly connected to our ability to have a good health relationships. Nothing else matters. So very wealthy people here feel like failure because they can't get it together. So we're not made to be alone. We're not made to be alone. We're just not. We're not happy alone. And we end up creating other systems to try to feel connected and safe as women, you know, but we're not made for that. So again, let's go back to, you know, women bring a huge amount of goodies to the world, but if you overdo it, and I call it stay in the money lane, your love lane's going to suffer.
I think
And you can't do both lanes, and you can't do both lanes. You can't. So
you summed up. Beautiful.
thank you.
Andre, quite honestly, I could very happily carry on talking to you for hours and hours on end. But we promised each other we weren't going to do that, didn't we? So
Yes.
we've talked about a lot today, and I think I had no idea exactly where we were going to go today because we were starting off with a theme of being a disruptor. So right, you can't predict what was going to come out of there. I want to thank you for everything you've shared, and I want to thank you for this incredible work you're doing. And I'm looking forward to feeling the kind of expanding bubble of vibration coming out of LA and across the ocean and to Wales, where I am, and across Wales, and this beautiful kind of love and mutual respect and relating bubble that you're working with. That's it. So,
Yes.
has there been for you in our conversation today, has there been a favorite part of our conversation?
Ooh. When it was like 9 of them. As we progressed, we kind of worked our way. But I probably would say to be acknowledged for being a fighter disruptor, right? To then create the life that I have. Oh God. You know, I would not be this man without all these challenges, all this crap. You know, starting with my parents. Like I would not be this man without all this crap and everything that I pushed through and fought for and conquered. You know, and when I tell people often, because we all have challenges, we all have like circumstances in childhood that are terrible, all different levels of, but nobody gets out of childhood unscathed. But the people who push through it are the ones who come up with the gifts, right? These terrible events are gifts on the other side. If it doesn't kill you, if you don't quit, if you don't, right? So on the other side of fighting for your life, there's a depth of love that you end up finding for yourself, for the world. Confidence that if every challenge is an opportunity to upgrade. So all of that crap that is my life created this dude. Wow. You know, I always say this to my clients at one point because they're so angry with their parents, one way or the other. And I go, you know, like I could fly back to Quebec City like tomorrow and let my mother have it. My dad's no longer here, but let her have it. Of all the stupid, ridiculous, clueless, should never had children kind of shit. Like, you know, two of my siblings, I'm talking to her. It's like it's in the sauce, right? So I could go and just like let her have it, except all that crap created this. And this guy is all right. So fuck you, mom and dad, but thanks. Right? Like, so, all right, you know, it's what you're going to do with the crap, you know, because if you look at people that have done some really great things in the world, if you look at their life story, it didn't start at, Cinderella. You know what I mean? Oprah Winfrey should not be alive. And look what she did. So it's the people with the big challenges who had everything against them that push through and build themselves up on the other side and become untouchable. So you have a terrible story. Okay. What are you going to do with it? How are you going to win it? How are you going to come on the other side? Or are you going to be a victim the rest of your life? Right? Like, ugh, that's not attractive. I don't be that guy.
Beautiful. Thank you. So I'm just going to remind people of your web address, which is projectequinox.net. And I will also put those other links in the show notes. And you said there was something you wanted to...
I have two gifts. I have two gifts. So as I just said, my mission is God-driven and is the movement, right? The movement to teach this to the masses. So I do 3-4 podcasts a week, getting it out there, spreading the hope, spreading the, right? Spreading the gospel of Andre. That's funny. I never said that before, but that's, you know, anyway. But I notice when I do podcasts, it's typically two types of listeners. I used to have my own podcast. I understand like those people people listen to podcasts like this, like you and I, the first step, and we'll let the audience qualify themselves, but the first type, typically people who are looking for information. They're poking around with that man and woman thing, female, masculine, what? There was all this, like, they're just because it keeps coming around, right? Right now it's coming out like crazy. So, like, what? I'm struggling in my relationship. What this man? Anyway, so if you're an information seeker listener, I'll let you qualify yourselves. I'm going to send you directly to my email. So if you go to Andre, the NDRE, coaching, the word coaching, COACHING, the number one, Andre Coaching 1 at Gmail. And in the subject box, when you email me, write Irresistible Book. I will send you a copy of the book that I sell on my website. It's called The 5 Feminine Qualities High Value Men Find Absolutely Irresistible. This is the work that I do with, this is men talking. This is my work with men. Men talking about where they find irresistible in women. And it's not your hair color, and it's not your butt, it's not your boob, it's not your job. It's a vibration and energy that comes from you that magnetize, and they adore it. They can't resist it. Anyway, so it's a 30-page book. It's a workbook, right? You get to fill it in because it's a workbook, 30 pages. It's really great. So Andre Coaching 1, Irresistible Book. I will send you a copy of my book. Digital, you print it and you play with it. So information seekers, there's a place to start. And you understand a little bit more I'm up to in a different way. The second type listeners I notice are people who, like you just did, right? I saw your face a couple of times ago. Oh, I get that. Oh, yeah, okay, right? That makes sense. Oh, like when it resonates. So if anybody resonated with what I talked about and what I'm up to, Andre Coaching 1 at Gmail, and in the subject box, write talk now. And what I'll do is I'll send you a link to my calendar. You'll find a space that's open, book an hour, and we're going to have a conversation one-on-one with where you're stuck, what's the struggle, what's the problem. And it's always the same, right? The same man, different body. The same woman, different body. What's wrong with me? How come I can't? Oh, childhood stuff, childhood trauma, childhood, no dad, bad dad, right? That. It's always the same. So in 15 minutes, literally in a call like this, in 15 minutes, we go right to where the wheels came off, typically at the age of 5, like it happened to me, right? Where you made a decision about the world, yourself, life, and people. Mine is I don't belong here. For most people, for the women, it's like I'm not worthy of love or I'm not lovable. For the man, it's often I'm not good enough. I'll never amount to anything. Right? And all these beliefs that we picked up at 5 years old per our circumstances. And we decide, we take that personally and we think there's something wrong with us because if we were loved right by families, they would have loved us and be kind to us and nice and loving and giving. And, they would allow you to grow up with a certain amount of innocence and be happy. Most of us did not have that. And there's different levels of. So anyway, so when you find out, literally in 15 minutes, we'll go right to childhood to where the wheels came off and you go, ugh. And what happens is when you understand there's nothing wrong with you, because people come at me with like, I'm broken, there's something wrong with me, I keep attracting. I'm like, you're not broken, you're a product of your past. So when you put your finger on it, ding, 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 and you realize, if we know what it is, it's not you. And if, right, and if it's circumstantial of your past, we could fix it. So what I do is I use NLP to release trauma from the nervous system because I can't get anybody a healthy relationship to release the trauma from your past and all the relationship that confirm you're not lovable, that you're not good enough, because we collect those from the age of 5 forward. So, like I said, in that call, not only you realize you're just a product of your past, you're not broken, we could fix that. So then what's the dream?
Yeah.
What's the life? What's the dream, right? Is this kids and a husband if you're young enough, or is it just long-term companionship? And then, like I said, we'll discuss the possibilities of stepping in with me because there's people who make that call typically are action takers. So they're like, I resonated, I want some help me decode this thing. What do you got? So, but if we never work together, that call alone for some people is just liberating because they realize they're not broken. That's a huge weight off your back, right? If you believe that you're broken, what's going to happen if you believe you're broken? You're not going to, right? You're not going to make anything work. Not your fault.
Thank you. Well, those are both beautiful gifts. Thank you very much indeed.
Absolutely. And if people want both, they can ask for both. And I always say, ask me questions on that email as well. And I have other things and tell me I'm full of crap and I'm not, and challenge me all you want. Like this is
So
this is
basically,
I'm just
wide open, Andre.
wide open.
Well, we're wide open. Thank you so much. It's been so great having you on, as having this conversation. Just amazing. And I just want to wish you from my heart all the best with this incredible work.
Thank you. I felt that. It's very sweet. You meant that really well. I'm receiving it. Thank you.
So
It's a good way to start in the week.
thank you, everyone, for watching and listening. That's all for Truth and Transcendence today. You can find our other episodes on truthandtranscendence.com. And you know what to do to help us spread the word of the show. Give a thumbs up, a 5-star rating, and share with your friends. Comment on what we were discussing today. And do check out Andre's amazing book and that 15-minute call, because he is vibrating at a very high level right now and he's got a lot to contribute. So if you feel like that's relevant for you, don't hold back. Have a great week. I'll see you next time. And Andre Paradis, thank you again so much.
Thank you, darling.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. It really helps if you give a thumbs up, a 5-star rating, a review, and share with your friends. If you're looking for transformational coaching or an intensive transformational weekend workshop experience, I can help with that. You can actually help the show by making a donation. Until next time, take care.